What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. Today I have my long-awaited Juno Stadium guide. This is going to be my first support guide, but I've had a lot of requests for Juno recently. So let me know which hero you want me to do next down in the comments below. I've done most of the tanks so far. I've done a couple DPS, but Juno is going to be my first support. I'm going to be covering all of our best builds, the playstyles that go with each one, and give you guys a breakdown of what stats you want to build with her, and give you some situational items to know about as well. I'll have the build timestamp down below if you want to skip to a specific one. But let's get started with the one that's been dominating Stadium from the beginning, and that is going to be her Torpedo build. Playstyle for this one is super easy. Spam torpedoes and hit as many players as you can to keep reducing that cooldown. Get it as low as possible. And just build full AP so you're doing as much damage and healing as possible as well. So for powers, you're going to want to go with Pulsar Plus every game. 2 charges of torpedoes. Helps you spam them as often as you can. Gets you that cash early. And just more damage, more healing for your team. Everything you want. Next, we're going to go with Cosmic Coolant. This is every time you hit somebody, ally or enemy, with your torpedoes, it's going to reduce the cooldown by half a second. If you get a 9-man torpedo, you're going to get 4.5 seconds cooldown reduction, which is really nice. And then round 5, you start to get a little bit more freedom in what you want to choose. If your other healer is just not doing the job in terms of healing, and you've noticed you've been forced to do more healing, or your team's just like not sustaining well, you could do medicinal missiles, which just kind of give everyone on your team like half an on-an-aid. So I think on-an-aid is when you hit it, like they get 100% increased healing. Here, every ally you hit with your medicinal, not with your medicinal missiles, with your pulsar torpedoes, they're going to receive 50% more healing. That allows your other support to heal them more. If they have any self-sustain, will heal them more, and then you can obviously heal them more as well. You could also do Torpedo Glide if you want to go full damage. Your team doesn't, team doesn't need the extra healing. Your other support's got them, or your team just sucks and you need a full carry. Torpedo Glide is the way to go, and that is basically if you're in your glide boost, every 50 damage you deal is going to reduce the cooldown of your torpedoes even more. So that with Cosmic Coolant, you're basically just going to keep spamming torpedoes constantly. I think the most I've ever gotten in like a single cycle is like 4, maybe 5, like where I just never had to like stop doing it because I kept getting 8, 9-man torpedoes. And after like 3 or 4, the enemy team should start rolling over because it's a lot of damage too. Your teammates can be following up on it, plus you're healing them at the same time, so it's a lot of value. And then round 7, typically your team may need a little more sustain. They've proven they're somewhat okay probably for getting to a round 7, well, unless you're up 3-0. But usually that indicates you have somewhat of a team at the very least, so medicinal missiles is a good one to go. And if you wanted to, you'll have a lot of AP. You could actually do Hyper Healer as well. Gives you a little more self-sustain. Gives your teammates just raw overhealth. At that point in the game, you should have like 100 AP, so it's going to be more of like 150 overhealth, which is pretty nice. But I wouldn't do many of the other ones. Maybe Stinger as well. You can maybe do a round 7 Stinger, because you can proc all of your ability item passives with your weapon on Stinger. So those are probably the only other 2 things I'd recommend. So Stinger, Hyper Healer, if you want to switch up from these 4. Now let's get into the items that you want to go when you're building Torpedo. So the key things you want to focus on are going to be ability power and cooldown reduction. And then I think a little bit of lifesteal is nice just to get some extra sustain. Those are the 3 items you're going to want to focus on. Mostly ability power. Round 1, power playbooks, the only thing that can give you ability power. Juno is one of the few characters that I actually don't mind her going AP in like rounds 1 through 3, 1 through 4. I think most characters in the game, you get more value from weapons early round, but then once you get like a full AP build, AP takes over. Juno, she can go AP from round 1, so I'm cool with that. And then the other items like to go Compensator, Weapon Grease, Ammo Reserves, or First Aid Kit, all work. You can even do Shady Spectacles if you want. Power Playbook plus any combination of these 5 works. For the sake of this video, let's do Compensator and Ammo Reserves. Just get as much cash as you can by healing your team, dealing damage with your gun, allowing you to scale the rest of your build from there. Now, for round 2, there's no like purple that's just like gonna accelerate your game, give you any cool, unique abilities or powers that you didn't have before. Like I think like one of the best ones is like Pulsar Destroyers, but it doesn't give you any raw AP. It just gives you 20 damage that will scale off your AP as you get later in the game. These don't really affect your torpedoes. So usually you get more raw stat value from getting blues over purples. So I'll get multi-tool and Nanocola. That with your round 1 stuff is going to get you 40% AP already and 5% cooldown reduction, which is kind of nice. And now getting into round 3 onwards, you kind of just want to start pumping out purples. There's no specific order you have to go in, but I'll give you my recommended order. But before I give you my purples, there is one blue item in the survival category that this build synchronizes really, really well with. So starting round 3, I'd recommend it, and that is Lock On Shield. Lock On Shield, just while you are aiming your pulsar torpedoes, you gain overhealth equal to 25% of your max shield. So I think Juno's base kit has about, I don't know the exact, like 125, somewhere between 100 and 150 base shields on her kit, and you're going to get 25% of that as overhealth every time you like activate your torpedoes. Gives you more sustain in the air. So that's really, really nice. Plus it just gives you some more raw health. So that's a really good item to have. And honestly, it's probably gonna be the last blue I sell. Like I'd sell Nanocola and multi-tool before I sell Lock On Shield. Let's say you have that. We'll sell our greens because we don't need greens at this point. Now your choices for items, you can go Pulsar Destroyers first if you want to. Maybe because it doesn't give AP, I do like an Iridescent Iris first. You get 20% AP, which outside of Champion's Kit is the most raw AP a single item will give you, plus 10% cooldown reduction. And even when you hop your ult, you get overhealth, so a lot of raw stats in this one, so that's really nice. Maybe say you have Pulsar Destroyers now at this point. You maybe want a little bit more sustain. You can go with Phantasmic Flux at this point. You get weapon power and ability power. So your healing or damage from your gun is going to be a little bit better, but you get a lot of sustain with this one, so you become pretty unkillable while still getting damage and healing through weapon power and ability power. So that's a really good item to get. I'll sell off these blues. And then some other things that we can round off our kit with. If you want more sustain, which if you don't want Phantasmic Flux, you could also do Lumerical Fusion Driver. Some other options, you can go Cyber Venom. This will allow your torpedoes to anti-heal the enemy team. This does stack with the passive that the DPS gives. Like I think DPS is also like 30% anti-heal just by them doing raw damage. This will stack with it, so it's not like wasted if your DPS are shooting the things too. It stacks so like things can't heal very much. If you have like a Reinhardt, Junker Queen, maybe even a Diva or Sigma, you just want to slow down Liquid Nitrogen just so they can't move, can't get onto your team is really, really nice. Plus, you slow everybody else too, which just means it's easier for your teammates to actually hit their shots. So getting slows never really hurts. Some other options are there. Go more dueling pressure, which you probably shouldn't be doing with this build in particular. Here you want just AoE, hit everybody all at once on both teams. But if you want dueling pressure, you could go triple tap Tommy Gun. Every time you use an ability, your next 3 instances of weapon damage will deal additional damage based on the target's max health. So it's really good into tanks specifically because they're going to have a lot of max health. You might get like up to an extra like 90 damage like in the later rounds on it. You could also do Mark of the Kitsune. After you use an ability, your next shot will do bonus damage scaling off of AP. So this one could be good as well, but I wouldn't recommend these as much in Torpedo build. I'll recommend these though in a future build that's more dueling oriented. Let's say you'll want Champion's Kit at some point in the game. But I think this is like a pretty good universal game. And then if you get to round 7, because you have Lumerical Fusion Driver, sell Lock On Shield and get like, say you get, where's Cyber Venom? I already have Cyber Venom. I do. Let's get Lumerical or Liquid Nitrogen. Call that a build. Oh, I completely forgot about Biotech Maximizer. I'm an idiot. I'm sorry, guys. Biotech Maximizer should be the first purple you get. I knew something fell off in that. Sorry. Biotech Maximizer is the first one you want to get in terms of purple, because most of the time with your torpedoes, while you are going for damage, you're going to be hitting allies. You lock onto your allies quicker. You're typically going to have at least some ally in your line of sight. So every ally you hit with your torpedoes is going to reduce the cooldown of your next torpedoes by 5%. But this also gives you cooldown reduction as well. So sorry about that. This is going to be your first one that you get every round, and then you probably go into like Pulsar Destroyers, Iridescent Iris, Champion's Kit if you can afford it, and then your utility, your sustain. That's probably what you're going to be going for. And you get 90% ability power. So your torpedo's going to be doing a ton of damage, 15% cooldown reduction, but even more with your biotech maximizer, probably going to be closer to that 25 to 35% range on how many allies you hit every torpedo. And so you can just start spamming torpedoes, melting the enemy team. My code for this one is going to be 4DDWF again. You just want to copy the build, go play it, have fun with that. Okay, let's get into our second build. And this build is becoming very, very popular over the recent month and a half, 2 months, especially in high elo. I've heard it called the Flying Tracer build. There's a lot of different variety in the build. I mean, is variety the right word? A lot of different variations of the build I've seen. It's a very high skill build to begin with. So if you're someone new to the game, I mean, if you want to have fun, go for it. Stadium is a fun mode. But if you are trying to win as many games as possible, it's a very high skill build. Torpedo's like super easy. It's impossible to mess up pretty much. Flying Tracer is a very hard, high skill build. But if you want to have fun, you're already a high elo player and you want to take your Juno skills to the next level, Flying Tracer build is the way to go. And basically what you want to do with this Flying Tracer build is you just want to, in the early rounds, farm as much cash as you can. It's a little weak in the early game. Just get as much cash as you can, heal your team, get kills, do damage, do all the normal Juno things. Once you get to like round 5 and you get the Stinger power, start to like absolutely start roll anyone you want to duel. You just blink around everywhere, you're unkillable, and you can duel whoever, and you'll typically always win because you have more damage and more sustain than them. Super fun, super annoying in the right hands. So let's get into the build. Oh, actually, before I get into the build, sorry, one more thing. What this build does, because you want to do a lot of flanking and dueling, typically want your other support to be more healing focused, ideally, so you don't have to. So it's really good with Mercies. If you have a Moira, Lucio, or KarQ who doesn't flank and just stays with the team, which unfortunately is kind of rare, but if you have them, you can just kind of leave your team more. It's also really good with a weapon power Ana, which you don't see very often, but if you have a weapon power Ana, she's good. Zen kind of struggles to just solo heal the team, so Zen's kind of a tougher support to play this with. So again, if you have the skill, you can do it. It's just a very strong dominant build, and let's get into the powers for it. So we'll reset here. So the round 1 and 3 powers, I've only seen it done with these 2 powers, but you can mix and match the order you do it in. I prefer going Hyper Healer first because it's guaranteed value round 1 and 3. You just, every time you throw out your Hyper Ring, allies affected by it get 75 health. So when you throw it out, you get affected by it. So that's 75 over health to you, which helps in duels, helps you sustain versus like Ash Burns, or if you do it preemptively, just avoid any raw damage you're taking. Heals your team, or overheals your team as well. So even if it just like dips by them as you throw it out, it'll still give them the overhealth. Round 3, you're going to get Blink Boost. So your glide gets worse, but you get 2 additional charges of it. So you just get you basically get 3 blinks like a tracer. That's why it's called Flying Tracer, kind of. Now the reason I prefer Hyper Healer round 1 is because in round 1 and 2, especially round 1, what makes the build is Blink Boots and Ironclad Exhaust Ports. You can't buy Ironclad Exhaust Ports round 1, which means Blink Boost kind of gives you less value round 1. It kind of goes to waste outside of like a little bit more mobility. Well, round 1 Hyper Healer is still going to give you a ton of value. There you have a ton of survivability, ton of mobility. You're incredibly hard to kill. And then round 5, where the build really takes off, is you're going to get Stinger. And the reason you go Stinger, you read it, you're like 10% ability power damage. That's like nothing. And you're also thinking, I'm dueling people. Why do I want ability power? So what this does, it allows you to proc the passives from like Marka the Kitsune a little bit easier, the triple tap Kami gun, but more importantly, Cyber Venom and Liquid Nitrogen. Just allows your gun to proc the passives, so you don't actually have to like use torpedoes to deal damage to them. Just shooting them will proc the passive. Shoot everybody one time. They're all slowed. They're all antied, and that's where you get a lot of the value. And then round 7, there's no like must kill power. You can go pretty much whatever you want. You can go Medi Master if you believe in your aim and you want to crit people, you can crit allies for healing and enemies for damage. Go Pulsar Plus to get more torpedoes out there. Go any whatever you want. Like there's not Juno doesn't have a bad power. Pick whatever power you want. You really glide boost a ton, so torpedo glide could be good. Medicinal missiles to like round 7. Might need to heal your team a little bit more. That'll help out. So whatever you want for round 7. What did I pick as my example? I did Pulsar Plus just to get more torpedoes. So now we're going to get into the items that go with it. Now that you have a general playstyle idea and you know what powers you're going to be building into. So round 1, round 1 and 2, I just want to go full weapon damage. You could go power playbook. Your torpedoes will do a little bit more damage. And I think your hyper ring does about 7.5 damage more. Or heal over health more, so that'd be like 82.5. It's not really that great. I'd recommend just going all in on weapon power, so compensator, weapon grease, and ammo reserves. Round 1, heal as much as you can, damage as much as you can, just get as much cash as you possibly can. You win the round. Obviously try and win the round. Focus on getting cash. Round 2, I like to stick with the theme of actually weapon damage, healing my team, procking as much cash as I can. So I like Vantage Shot. For only 4,000, if I'm in the air, which you can just double jump and like low fall, it counts as being in the air. 15% more damage. So for only 4,000, you can get essentially 20% weapon power. That's really, really good. I also like advanced antibiotics. I like to do a little more heal botting this round, first 1 to 2 rounds, because you don't have that sustain or dueling threat yet. As you're healing your team, you get attack speed bonus. So I think those are like the go-to round 2 buys. If you can afford it, you get ironclad exhaust pipes. Usually round 2, you're not going to be able to afford it with this build. Now getting into round 3 and onwards. Round 3, you must get ironclad exhaust ports. You're going to have your blink boost. So every time you blink boost, I'll just go around. See, use my shield, 25 over health. 25 over health. 25 over health. It's really, really easy. Pop my torpedoes, you get some. So hyper ring gets some, plus the extra from hyper healing. So that's what you're going to be going for. Now in terms of items from here on out, the first items you want to get in terms of purple are going to be triple tap Tommy gun and Mark of the Kitsune. I've seen people choose both of them. I think if like, you're into like an Orisa or a tank you can shoot easily to farm cash, because while you do have some dueling threat now that you have the blink boost with the ironclad exhaust ports, you don't have like oh, you can't lose a duel yet. So level of threat. So I like triple tap Tommy gun, use my blink boost, shoot the enemy team real quick, proc an extra bunch of damage. The next purple I'd get is Mark of the Kitsune. Basically the same thing. You want to be doing like blink boost, shoot, blink boost, shoot, blink boost, shoot. So that way you keep getting all those procs of those 2 items. What else can we do? Iridescent Iris is nice to just get the cooldown reduction of them lower. But actually, my recommendation for the third ability power item is actually going to be Fusion Driver, because every time you use an ability, you start restoring 50 armor or shields. And shields actually, or armor goes underneath the shields, so you're actually usually going to be shields. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's still a health that you're regenerating. 50% ability power is really nice. Helps your torpedoes and helps your hyper healing power. We'll sell these. And now the way you start, now that you have like these 3 ability power items, the only other one that really matters is probably going to be like Cyber Venom or Liquid Nitrogen. You could do those in front of Lumerica Fusion Driver if you want, but those are going to be like the 5 ability power ones to focus on. I've also seen this build with a mix of weapon power and ability power. So I've seen people actually get some weapon power items earlier in the purple category. One that's I really like, and it's usually the only one that I'll end up keeping my final build, is Eye of the Spider. They're really expensive at 14,000, but a lot of 25% ability powers. It's a lot of damage, it's a lot of healing, and when they're low, a lot more damage as well. It does say deal 10% increased damage. I don't know if that counts for ability power damage as well, or just weapon power, but it does apply to your low health teammates though. Low health teammates will get increased healing from them, I'm pretty sure. I've always thought that to be the case. I've never heard anything otherwise. I'm going to assume that's true, but if I'm wrong, you can correct me down in the comments. I'd love to know if that doesn't apply to your teammates. But it for sure does apply to enemies, and you're going to be dueling enemies. You want to be able to confirm those kills. Eye of the Spider is really good. Another weapon power, that one that's really good. You could do Amari's Antidote if you're more on the healing side of it, but you should be dueling a little bit more. Maybe able to check if there's any items I'm forgetting. Oh yeah. You could also do Long Range Blaster and Gravitational Push. I'd probably do Gravitational Push, over Amari's Antidote. Because you're going to be in your glide boost pretty consistently. So here you get weapon power and attack speed. And if someone gets too close to you, you can actually knock them back with melee, which is kind of nice. So like these would probably be the two weapon power items I'd go for. You keep your Ironclad exhaust ports. You need a little more survivability in these early rounds because like you're just struggling, so you can't afford Eye of the Spider. But you have this. Some good blues you can get. Reinforced Titanium. Just while you have shields, you're gonna take 15% reduced ability damage. So this is gonna be really good into like AP Ashes, so burn Ash builds, Helix Rocket Soldier builds, other Junos going like their Torpedo builds. Just if they have like 4 people going ability power, what else? Fire Strike Reinhardt, Wound, Junker Queen, that right click Zarya build, really good into all of them. You just get more shields, but you're gonna take reduced damage, so you're harder to kill as well. You could also do Crusader Hydraulics. This is gonna give, see how the armor goes underneath? I'll take off my Luminary driver to show you. That armor is gonna go underneath, but it says while you have armor, take 10% reduced weapon damage. So all that damage in the blue or yellow of your health bar is just gonna be reduced damage, so you're gonna be way harder to kill. Those are some good items to get if you need the survivability. But if you get to like around 7 and you have full build, so you have American Fusion Driver, so you get Spider Venom, and I say you can't afford Eye of the Spider, so you went Gravitational Push. You need to upgrade your Ironclad exhaust ports. I wouldn't do this often, but you can actually swap it out for Martian Mender as another possible item to get. That way you get more cooldown reduction, so your blinks are up way more often, but you're just generally just healing constantly. So you're not getting overhealth, but you are just healing a lot per second. So it's more healing, more raw healing overall. So that's going to be my favorite version of the Flying Tracer build. Again, there's a lot of variations out there. I will actually show you a more weapon focused build after this one if you want. But this is like this is the most build I've had the most success with when doing the Flying Tracer build myself. Because the tough part of this build is you want a lot of weapon damage. You want a lot of ability power, or you want a lot of the passives that ability items give, like Cyber Venom, Liquid Nitrogen, Mark of the Kitsune. Like I think if you wanted to, as a round 7 option, you could do this. Round 7 you can go Medimaster and like get the suppressor. Elsaka suppressor. Now you can crit enemies, and then you don't need Cyber Venom. So you'd have Market Kitsune. Yeah, so now you have the suppressor, so it's more damage plus this. So that's like 20% AP. You can do Martian Mender. Another item that's actually really good with this one too is Hard Light Accelerator. You're gonna be using your blinks and boosts so often that you're gonna start stacking up the weapon power really, really well. You'll have up to 25% because you're blinking pretty much constantly. You get 5% 3 times. So yeah, a lot of variations with this build. But the one I'm actually showing you, this is the one that I've had the most success with. Stop Gun, Kitsune, Cyber Venom, Fusion Driver, Eye of the Spider. And I've actually never got to round 7 with this build, so you can pick any of these. Gotta be up close. Let's do Long Range Blaster. So I think this would be like the full build that I'd recommend the most if you're going to do a full build. So you got a good amount of AP, good bit of weapon power, get some attack speed, which is kind of nice, and a lot of cooldown reduction. So you're just blinking, flying everywhere. So boom, shoot, boom, shoot, melting pulls. Oh, can't aim. There you go. Okay. So that's going to be the generic style of the Flying Tracer build. And now we'll do a more weapon focused style if you don't want to go for the AP passive procs and stuff. Let me get down to my notes on it. So this one's going to be more raw damage. You also get more raw healing, I think. Actually, no. Sorry, I mean the wrong build. Get rid of those last couple sentences. And yeah, if you want to do a more weapon focused style of it, I kind of went over it in that last little rambling, but hyper healer, blink boost, stinger, and then like I said, Medi Master, so you can actually crit on, and to get your anti heal instead of having to go cyber venom. Both work though. I guess you have stinger, so it's like guaranteed though, but you're kind of wasting some of the AP. Here you get, so you have this, and you crit them, and you have the Asaka Suppressor. That's 10% weapon damage instead of like 5% ability power. So it's whatever you want to do. It's a little harder to activate, but it works too. So Supertf Helmet Gun is the one I'd keep, and then just go more on the weapon focus side. So you get like gravitational push, long range blaster, Eye of the Spider. You can do Amari's Antidote if you want the healing. You can go Harlot Accelerator for some more raw damage. You want the Ironclad exhaust parts early, but you can't upgrade that to America Fusion Driver or Martian Mender. Both work. I am timestamping this as its own little special section, but if you want more descriptions and in-depth on the rest of the build, go watch the previous section for my normal Flying Tracer build, and this is just more like a weapon style variant of that build. My code for this one is 54JVC if you want the weapon power 1. If you want the regular Flying Tracer code, 8EEG1. So I think those are the 2 builds, 2, 3 if you count the weapon style variant of it. 3 builds that are kind of taking over Stadium with Juno, but I have some fun ones that give you some alternative gameplay styles if you're getting bored of those, playing those every game. Just want to spice things up. Start off with Space Gunner. I did make a video on this one 2 months ago about, I think it's been, crazy Stadium's been out 3.5 months already. Feels like it just came out a couple weeks ago. But Space Gunner Juno build. This is more of like a heal bot style build if you want to just play passive and heal your team. Like, say you have, I don't know, let's kick Zenyatta that's just going to go flanking, backline Moira, the clone Jericho. They're just not going to heal your team. They don't want to deal with healing your team. And you enjoy like a passive playstyle or you're just kind of more heal botting. If you want to go more dueling, I would say just go the Flying Tracer weapon style build. But if you want a more passive, laid back, heal your team, do a lot of damage with your weapon, this is a fun alternative. Now there's no like powers that like truly define this build. It's more in the items. So I'm just going to list off powers you can go, and you kind of pick what you want, and then I'll give you like just an example. If you just want to copy it, don't want to think, I'll give you my example. So first off, we'll start with Medi Master. You're going weapon power. So the ability to crit allows you to heal your allies more and do more damage to enemies. That's always a good item to get. You could go Medicinal Missiles. It just basically gives you an Ononade for your team, or when you hit them with your torpedoes. So if you have a lot of healing with your weapon power, this is going to amplify that. So Medicinal Missiles really works well. Any of the ring ones, like Hyper Healer is good to give them overhealth. Rally Ring, so it's more often if you want to pair those together. Black Hole just to slow enemies for fun. It's really nothing specific. Like you can do whatever you want for these. But if you're gonna do like Blink Boost Hyper Healer, you're doing the Flying Tracer build. That's why I'm not like repeating those as like the go-to ones. So for an example, let's do Medicinal Missiles, just to give you more raw healing. Go Medi Master, so you can crit your allies and your teammates, or allies and enemies if you want. You could do Black Hole, or if you just want Hyper Healer, the bonus to Hyper Healer, it gives you self-sustain, while Black Hole just kind of slows the enemy team. If they have like Orion, Junker Queen, maybe a Sigma, Black Hole could be fun. Say Hyper Healer though, give you some self-sustain. You don't really have any besides some lifesteal. Usually, you could round it off with like a Pulsar Plus, a Black Hole if you want to, Cosmic Coolant. You can do Stinger if you want to, but you don't need to. What do I recommend? Let's go with Pulsar Plus. just because you have medicinal missiles, it allows you to proc them more often with Pulsar Plus. So let's just go with that. Again, pick any powers you want. There's no like specific powers you need for this build. Now we're going to get into the items. Round 1, obviously, it's weapon power build. We're going to go into like weapon grease, ammo reserves, and compensator. The default 3. You could go plasma converter if you plan on doing a little more damage. You could do first aid kit if you want a little bit more self or healing regen. You even go power playbook if you just want a little more torpedo damage and healing. So those work as well. But this is my go-to for this build: compensator, weapon grease, ammo reserves. And now, sorry, looking at my notes here. Yeah, round 2 kind of sticks with this same start of flying tracer. I think Vantage Shot and Advanced Antibiotics are like the most value you can get for 2 blues. But if you have extra cash and like you don't want Vantage Shot, you want to go Talon Modification, that works perfectly fine. I don't really like Emergency Trip. You could do Stockpile. Could do Aftermarket Firing Pin. Doing more damage, you could go Shield Buster into further tanks. Icy Coolant, Coolant Reduction. Any of these work. I'd probably just avoid Emergency Trip and Techno Leech. All the other ones are fine. Now we're going to get... also, if you want survival items, like I mentioned before, Reinforced Titanium's good. Crusader Hydraulics is really good. I don't think you really need any of the other ones. Ironclad Exhaust, you're just doing Flank Tracer at that point. Yeah, so let's avoid those for now. Okay, getting into the purples from round 3 onwards, just like the other sections. You probably can start affording 1 purple every round. So let's go into the purples like I'd recommend. So if you're going for more healing, Amari's Antidotes are really, really good. You get a lot of weapon power, and it increases... The healing increases if your allies are below 50% health. So if you have like a really aggro tank, or one of your DPS is just always low for some reason, like I don't know, Genji or Reapers keeps going and they're always low. This one's really good for that. Space. Eye the Spider is always going to be good. If you have a Medimaster, you could go Elsaka Suppressor or the Closer for more damage. Parlay Accelerator is always really good. Honestly, all 3 of her what are these? Her hero specific items are really good. Pulsar Spike's a lot of fun because you don't have... I'm doing a lot of weapon power. I'm not really giving you much attack speed. Maybe like at this point, maybe want to sell... I guess you get some from an Advanced Antibiotics. But Pulsar Spike's going to give you some attack speed. Plus you get bonus attack speed. So this one, use your Pulsar's Torpedoes. You're up to 35% attack speed for 4 seconds. Just from a single item, that's really, really nice. Plus your Torpedoes are going to get to their targets faster. Like Pulsar Spikes are the only attack speed item you need. Don't get rid of Talon Modification. If you're playing really far back, long range blaster is really good. If you're playing a little closer, you could go Gravitational Push, because your Glide Boost is going to last you those 5-10 seconds. That's going to give you more attack speed as well. So like you're at 70% attack speed, and then with the passives on Pulsar Spike and Gravitational Push, that's going to get you an extra 45% attack speed. So you have 70% ability power and 55% attack speed. That's really good for like a final build. So it's like jump, fly around, do that, and insane attack speed. So that's another fun build too, just to mix it up from your traditional flying tracer and torpedo builds. I would rank it in a class below the other ones, but it is a completely viable build. Stadium's about having fun, trying new things out, playing heroes different ways. And so if this style is something that would fit you, I think it's a fun build to try as well. And then this last build, I don't normally do this in my videos. My builds are mostly just about winning and getting the best builds possible. But this one, it's just so fun to do. It is a very troll build. If you can get it to work though, you're going to make the enemy team miserable. And I'm calling my Space Blizzard Juno. I don't know. I had to put 3 Z's in there because Blizzard with 2 Z's was not allowed for some reason. Don't know why. But it's a fun little troll build where you just want to make the enemy team have a miserable time. I'd recommend it if the enemy team has Reinhardt, Junker Queen, or Sigma, because they're just low mobility tanks. Zarya and Orisa have their cleanses and fortifies, and Diva can fly. I can still kind of work on Diva because it does slow her flight, but you're just perma-slowing the enemy team. So round 1 I'll get Black Hole. So that way you throw your Hyper Ring at the enemies. If they walk through it, they're slowed for 35% for 2 seconds. And then round 3, you want to get Orbital Alignment. So enemies that are inside your ultimate lose 35% move speed, which is the main part of this. Your allies get 25%, but the main part is they lose 35%. So combining these two, I don't know if they stack like additively, but theoretically, when I've tried it, it doesn't feel like 70% slow, but it's just a ton of slow. Or if you separate them out so like they're not overlapping, they're just permanently 35% slowed. Rally Ring, so that way if your allies walk through the ring, they're gonna reduce the cooldown of it, so you can throw your ring out more often. You could round it off with Hyper Healer if you want to go like full ring, so your allies get over health, and it reduces the cooldown. Enemies get slowed. You could also round it off with Stellar Focus, so that way your ult's gonna follow you around, so you can kind of force it to stay on top of enemies. Or if you really want, you can go Stinger, and you're gonna buy Liquid Nitrogen as your first purple, and that way Stinger can apply the slow as well. So let's say we'll do Stinger, just because it's the best way to apply the slow, but the other two are fun as well. Getting back into the build. So greens, same as every other round, you could go some ability power, do like Compensator, Weapon Grease, Ammo Reserves, or First Aid Kit, or Power Playbook for the ability power. Any combination of those 5 works, whatever suits you the best. If you can afford Liquid Nitrogen on round 2, go for it. But you don't need to get around 2. Honestly, you can go Multi-Tool and Icy Coolant. The goal is just to get as many, what's the actual name of your ring? Hyper Ring. The goal is to get as many Hyper Rings out there as you possibly can. So 10% cooldown reduction, get a little bit of ability power, a little bit of weapon power. I like to focus a little bit more weapon power after I get my Multi-Tool and Liquid Nitrogen, because I just like to heal my team in the downtime. Plus, if you're slowing the enemy team, you should be able to hit them. They're like 35% slowed. You should be able to hit them pretty easily. If you have Stinger and Liquid Nitrogen, your bullets will start to slow them as well, so that's the 20% slow, which is nice. And from there on out, I'm just kind of picking stuff that gives me cooldown reduction, so I can get as many rings out there as possible. The Hard Light Accelerator, 10% AP, 10% cooldown reduction, but that ability power will increase every time you use an ability. You can do Iridescent Iris, a lot of AP, a lot of cooldown reduction, that's a good item. If you want to just heal more, Amari's Antidote's the way to go. If you want your teammates to walk through the Hyper Ring to just start healing them up. Not all of them are going to have shields though, so if you have like Zarya, this can be really good. You have, who else has a lot of base shields in their kit? Sigma. So I think Zarya and Sigma are probably the 2 tanks you want to go. I'll probably eventually add Symmetra to this mode, or if you notice some of your teammates just have shields, the solo shielding can be good. It also helps you out, because you have your shields as well. You can just keep kind of walking through the ring to keep proccing it, and you get your shields back with some self-sustain. You could do Ironclad Exhaust Ports for some more overhealth in the earlier rounds, plus you get more cooldown reduction, so you get some self-sustain. Martian Mender, same thing, more late round survivability. You can do Phantasmic Flux, get more sustain, but weapon power and ability power, good all-around item. And I just put this one in here for fun, because you're not going to have the most AP, so your ult's not going to like scale insanely well in terms of your teammates' benefits of it. But this will give you that extra healing and give you some more shields, so you're going to have some more survivability. Let's just say, let's do solar shielding for the fun of it. And then you're not going to have as much cash as other builds, so you can keep the 2 purples, but if you're going to get rid of one of them, get rid of Multi-Tool first. Let's throw in Phantasmic Flux. Get a lot of AP, decent amount of weapon damage, a lot of cooldown reduction. So that's a fun build as well. You could even do one that I actually forgot to mention is Biotech Maximizer. That one works as well because your pulsars will come out more often. But I guess it doesn't affect your Hyper Ring though. Your Hyper Ring's not really healing. So maybe Biotech Maximizer worked for this, but it's more for your torpedoes than it is your ring. Maybe not. Let's stick with this build. The code is 4DDWF. Try this build out. There is a KarQ build that's similar to it. That's kind of where I got the inspiration to try it on Juno. But yeah, you can just throw your hyper ring out. The bots are slow, so you don't really see it. Oh, I didn't throw it far enough. But we'll throw it on them. Try this build out if you just want to troll the enemy team, mount them, have a good time. Like, they don't look like they're going that slow, but it's a bot. They're going like half speed. Like, when you play against this build, you're just like, you feel like you're stuck in the ground and you just want to rage and cuss out the enemy team. It's a lot of fun. Try it out. The aim is most for to have fun. That's what it's all about. But that's going to wrap up my complete Juno Stadium guide. If you made it this far, that clearly means you enjoyed it. So if you could please leave me a like and subscribe, that would mean the absolute world to me. Lets the algorithm know there's something worth watching here. So that'd be greatly appreciated. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.